what happens when you have the Grim Reaper, okay? I think they got the lettering wrong, GR, because it should have been GM. The Grim Motors, okay? What happens when you have the Grim Reaper and General Motors? You have the death of the Acura TLX, yet another sedan. I know y'all wondering, what the hell does GM have anything to do with Honda? I blame everything on GM, and you're gonna find out why this makes sense. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Blackhawk Bond 007 back here with another video. If you know the vibes, hit the subscribe. If you don't bite, give me a like. Give the video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. I got the latest and the greatest car chases, car news, and car reviews. Let's get into it. And we're going to be talking about the death of the Acura TLX. If you don't know anything about the TLX, you're simply living under a rock. The TLX started life off as the Acura Vigor back in the early 90s, okay? And then morphed into the first generation TL back in the mid to late 90s, okay? And then into the late 90s had the second generation TL. That one would be produced all the way up until 2003. 2004 is when they came out with the third generation TLX. They had that all the way up until 2008. And then you had the fourth generation TL, which was in 2009. They made that all the way up until 2012. This would be the very last generation TL, and then they morphed into Acura's new nomenclature, okay, where everything had to end with an X. So thus the birth of the TLX was born in 2013. They had that one all the way up until, I believe it was what, 2018, maybe redesigned in 2019. It might have been a little newer than that. But the TLX was the last iteration of the TL brand, okay? And this will be the last year that they get rid of the sedan. They only had two sedans, y'all. They had that and they had the Acura Integra, which they just brought back, which is basically a fancy Honda Civic. If you look at the interior of the Honda Civic and the Integra, they're literally the same thing. And you have a lineup of SUVs. Why do we need this? But anyway, just so we get right to the net of things, I already pulled up Car and Driver. Here we go right here. We're going to put that on the screen. Acura TLX ends production, marking the death of yet another sedan. And you're going to find out in a few why I blame this on GM. But in the meantime, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button, okay? Please help the channel get to 1,000 subscribers. It really helps the channel grow. We have a growing community of Blackhawks. That's what we're going to call everybody. All of my Blackhawks. Let's get into it, man. Let's grow this channel. We got a few videos out right now on the 2015 Nissan Altima, 2002 Pioneer Grand Prix. We have a plethora of police chases that we dropped over the past couple months. We have other car news. You want to check that out. I also have a video coming out that's already out, I'm sorry, about the progress of the new podcast studio. I have another update for that soon. But let's get into this right here. Acura TLX is production, marking the death of yet another sedan. The departure of the TLX, a mainstay of the Acura range since the TL launched in the mid-1990s, leaves the Integra as the only non-SUV in the lineup. Look at that, y'all. Look at that. Moment of silence. Why are they getting rid of another sedan? Lexus just redesigned their 2026 Lexus ES. We have a video on that. You can go ahead and check the link in the description. I'll leave that there if you want to take a look on my review on that. But it's only going to be a hybrid and an EV. But it's still another sedan. Toyota got a full lineup of sedans. You got the Corolla. You got the Corolla hatchback. You got the Toyota Camry. And they even replaced their full-size sedan, the Toyota Avalon, with the Toyota Crown. It is a historic nameplate, new to the United States, but they're still trying. They have not gave up on sedans. Toyota, I gotta say, was probably the psychic when it came to everything. They was ahead of the game when they said EVs is not going to be the thing. We're not buying into this into the U.S. As a matter of fact, not even at home. This is why Toyota stepped down. And come to find out, he was right. Look at the market. Here we are. So the same could be said for their sedans. They have not given up on the market. Nissan hasn't even given up on the market. Kia hasn't given up on the market. You have the Kia Rio. We're gonna look that up in a minute. But you also have the K4 that replaced the Forte. That was essentially the same car. Then you have the K5 that was essentially the Kia Optima. Then you have the Hyundai Sonata. That's the parent company, Hyundai Motor Company. Then you have the Hyundai Elantra. They have the accent still, I think, but I think this is going to be the last year for that. But they're getting ready to redesign the Elantra. Nissan's getting ready to redesign the Sentra. I don't know what's going on with the Altima. I haven't heard too much of that. Of course, the freaking Malibu is dead. But you're going to understand why I mean death upon GM's SUV boom. GM was the first brand that made the big boom in SUVs in the late 90s. This started way back then, but they still had a plethora of sedans. They pushed this narrative that you need an SUV. And I think I might start a petition, man, because just like we understood that we don't want EVs, we don't want all SUVs either. This is turning into a monopoly effect. But Toyota still gets it. And I'm not going to buy your SUV because when you find out what they're replacing this, which SUV they're replacing this with, they're replacing it with the historic car nameplate. And when you find out what it is, you're going to lose your fucking shit. Okay? But let's finish the rest of this right here. The Acura TLX is dead as production of the luxury sedan will end later this month in Ohio, which means 2025 will be its final model year. This was the second generation of the TLX, but its lineage dates back to the TL nameplate that began in the mid-1990s. Acura cites declining sales as a reason for its continuation. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. I'm so sick of these automakers telling us that we all want SUVs. This is ridiculous. Everybody don't care about practicality. We want variety. Some people want SUVs, some people want sedans. This is going to be one of those futures, like, let's say we do go to a Jetson future where everything's flying and stuff like that. It's going to be the same car. This is what we're looking at. Everything of the same fucking bubble. It's so ridiculous. But anyway, Acura cites decline in sales. Acura will cease production of the TLX sedan later this month as Honda's luxury division continues its path away from sedans and towards SUVs. The departure of the TLX from the lineup will leave the Integra hatchback as the only non-SUV in showrooms, as the larger RLX sedan was discontinued in 2020, and the NSX supercar into production in 2022. And they were talking about bringing it NSX back as like an electric supercar. It ain't happening. I can tell you that right now. It's not happening. Just no way. Because with the undesirability of EVs, a lot of automakers are backtracking, like Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram. You know, they didn't want to do that in the first place anyway. And even Cadillac is backtracking on their all EV agenda. I didn't know they were still making an XT5, which is like their compact combustion SUV to compete against the BMW X3, the Mercedes C-Class, and it's very much a dinosaur. I looked it up a couple days ago. But I believe they're going to bring the one that they have from China over here, and they're going to make it at one of their local plants in Michigan, which I think is great, but maybe that might spell a light in the tunnel for the sedans, the CT4, the CT5. I don't know. We'll see. But the TLX lineage dates back to the mid-1990s, when Acura first launched the TL as a replacement for the Legend luxury sedans. The TL lasted 4 generations and was renamed TLX when a new generation arrived in 2015. The current second generation TLX has been around since 2021. Acura cites a steady decline in sales as the reason for its discontinuation. company moved 3,634 units of the TLX through the first half of 2025. The model peaked in 2015 with over 47,000 units sold. Here's what I think about this, y'all. GM and Acura should have never morphed into having their own electric version of the Chevy Blazer EV. They should have never did it, and I think that was literally the Grim Reaper tapping their shoulder. Come join the club. I hate GM right now, man. Mary Barra, whatever the hell her name is, she got to go. Because if you think the only thing that we want is a car that most people can't afford, the Corvette, dude, people can't afford that shit. Everybody can't buy a Corvette. We can get excited and post it on our walls, a fucking sticker. It's a picture. Like I said, this is a 7-year-old kid in my last video. Most of you won't be able to afford the Chargers. But go ahead and keep dreaming. We want cars we can afford. And I think Dodge is one of the few companies that's starting to get it. They just reduced the price of the Hemi for the 2026 Dodge Durango. We want cars that we can afford. Sell them in the masses. I get it. Cost of living, inflation, all this stuff like that goes up over the course of time. You know, cars are never going to be as cheap as they were. But what? Is the Durango base model in 10 years going to be over $100,000? No, we'll just go buy a Mercedes or buy used products. They're not going to buy it. Some cars need to stay in their class tier. And also, that means financially as well, too. And we want variety. Everybody don't want to be driving in SUVs. It's crazy, man. Look at that. Look how beautiful that car is. Y'all see that, yo? Very beautiful. Put alongside the Integra and the Honda Accord at Honda's factory in Marysville, Ohio, the TLX will effectively be replaced in the lineup by a new electric SUV that adopts the brand's RSX nameplate. Not the hatchback that you all so love, but a fucking SUV, y'all. Which was previously applied to a sporty coupe in the mid-2000s. The new RSX will be built in Marysville at Honda's new EV hubs, and it's the first model to ride on a new in-house electric platform that will later propagate to the other Honda Acura models. This will be their first standalone EV model that will not be in conjunction with the General Motors. I'm disgusted, y'all. This is the latest in a series of departures from the compact luxury sedan segment. Infiniti dropped the Q50 from his lineup, F-Infinity. Volvo ended its production of the S60. And Lexus appears to be sending the IS to pasture in the near future, but it's not going to be as hard on Lexus because they still continue the ES. ES is a very controversial design, but they're still giving the sedans a shot. I really think they're doing a disservice to continue the IS because that's the only true competitor that they had to the BMW 3 Series. Not even the C-Class. I think they're two different tiers. BMW is more so sport. Mercedes is more so luxury. Lexus definitely hit the angle on sport when it came to the IS. That's what it was off rip for the first generation IS 300. The current Acura lineup now includes the aforementioned Integra and now a range of SUVs, including the subcompact ADS, the compact RDX, the midsize NDX, and the electric ZDX. I forgot about the ZDX. Remember that ZDX, the combustion engine version? That was a really nice car, very niche product. They still sell for pretty expensive because not too much of that production went into play. And it was based off of the Honda Accord Cross Tour. Y'all remember that vehicle? I'll show it to you right here. So what do y'all think about this, man? Because I think they're doing a disservice. I want to know y'all thoughts on this, but here's what I think. I think Acura is doing us a disservice. I'm very disgusted in Honda that they think that We want SUVs. I really hope that all of you don't buy it. Show them that this is not the way to go. Honda is bringing, which it pisses me off because Honda's bringing it back. The Prelude. Wow, what a beautiful coupe. Yeah, got the shape of the Nissan. We're not talking about Nissan. We're not even going to talk about the Nissan Honda merger. That went straight to hell. But as far as the coupe is concerned, you know, it's basically a two-door Civic built on the platform of the Acura Integra. And it does have some parts from the Type R. As far as the suspension components is concerned, I think it's pretty cool. It is a hybrid. I'm glad it's not EV. As long as it's not, and anything is possible. As you remember, Rich car rebuilds. He converted a Tesla into a combustion platform based off of the Chevy. I think it was a Chevy Camaro SS. A lot of people ended up having his vehicle and did different iterations of that. I think somebody added a Whipple to it, and it was a sequential manual. So as long as you have that, but he had to do a lot of things to do that. He had to create a transmission tunnel to, you know, house the transmission in there. What kind of transmission did he put in there? I'm not quite sure, but I'm not going to get stuck on that with a brain fart. But never mind that. You have, I think it's a CVT for the Integra, but as long as you have the housing and the firewall for that motor, you can always switch that and do something crazy, some type of crazy build for it. And, you know, as long as you got the money, you got all the resources to help you put that build together, make sure all the technology from the interior of the car is made to whatever type of build you're doing under the hood. So it's always possible, but I want to know what y'all think about this. And Acura is not going to understand until they realize that they're basically giving Lexus all of their customers' money, because people are not going to want this thing. Not only is it an RSX SUV and it's an EV, that's a double whammy, y'all. But let me know what y'all think about this. Drop a comment, okay? And let's talk about it in the comment section. I will be in the comment section. I'm going to respond to all of your things. But I think it's a disgrace. I think Acura should be ashamed of themselves. And I hope the RDX doesn't sell. But if you know the vibes, hit subscribe. If you don't bite, give me a like. Give the video a big thumbs up. Drop a comment in the comment section below. Let's talk about this disgrace of a funeral that we're going to have for the TLX. I'm trying to see if I can review one. I'll let y'all know how that works out. Subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers. All of my Blackhawks, I appreciate y'all tapping in. And until next time, holla at your boy. I'll see y'all in the next video.
Kind of makes me wonder why the hell so many people are trying to tell me to slow down. Seems like motherfuckers should be shutting the hell up and enjoying the show.